Welcome back if you've been here before. Today, I want to take you on a journey and share what I think is one of the greatest insights into healthcare staffing, and especially for the upcoming decade as we are rapidly racing to $100 billion in this industry. So, I want to start by saying that healthcare staffing has seen four eras in the last 20 years. And undoubtedly, we are moving into the most important era. And but to understand that and understand the time and the opportunity, it is important to understand all of the previous eras. And so I'm going to share and just take you on a journey of healthcare staffing since 2005, which is the year that I got into healthcare staffing. And today things are moving at remarkable speed. And so I want to give you tools to succeed in this industry for years to come. Things I don't really hear other people discussing, but here we are. So the relationship era, that was the first era. When I started in 2005, you could get into this industry, but it really was relationship driven. It was who you knew, and that is how you build an empire. Everything was very manual. I want you to like imagine this because I had a computer. After some time, I had a computer, but everything was on a calendar and sticky notes, and it was me in a small office calling out different shifts the to my volunteer who felt sorry for me at the time and was helping me. And so everything was manual, but relationships were everything. And so you had to really do the footwork back then. Speed was measured in days and sometimes weeks. And so the people who built in this era, while it wasn't as fast as it is now, the thing that I valued is we built very deep. And so the relationships were solidified, and that produced some amazing opportunities. And I would say, I call this like the pen and paper era, where you're still doing everything manual, pen and paper, but relationship telephones change things, right? Then, and they still do now, but we're definitely in a new era. Now, after this is, I guess, the early 2000s, after 2005, the early digital era. And so this is when machines started taking effect. And so we started getting databases, basic spreadsheets. By this time, I had got a computer, so things were moving a little bit faster. And there were some softwares that were coming into the market, but they were still very primitive. And so, not anything like what we're seeing today. The relationship still drove everything primarily, but the computer helped you to keep track of it. So this is like CRMs, customer relationship management systems, right? Things like that. And so even though we had the digital access, it wasn't necessarily leveraged as much as it is now. And so when I got into the industry in 2005, I think we were somewhere between the relationship era and the early digital era for quite a few years. And then era three is when everything changed. And so era three is the scale era. And this is when you saw healthcare staffing companies begin to have job boards and applicant tracking systems and all of these fancy things. And social media was becoming more popular and acceptable. LinkedIn was on the scene. And so, for the first time, a small staffing company, a small healthcare staffing firm could reach people outside of their immediate geography. And so their reach expanded, their opportunities expanded, and the tools expanded. And so by the time we got to like 2012, things were already transforming, and you were starting to see companies that were in one geography, some first movers got the first movers advantage, meaning that they saw the opportunity and moved out first. So at this time, we had expanded nationally. It was unheard of outside of our geography very aggressively, but we started tapping into these resources very, very fast. Okay. And so we were using a fax machine. We were using a fax machine at the time. We expanded nationally through a fax machine. Okay. I want you to think about that because in a second, I want you to tell you what you have and why this is possibly the greatest era for you to launch or grow your company in. So, the scale era, job boards, applicant tracking systems, industry transforming, more agencies are launching, and the workforce landscape began changing. And it wasn't just convenient to have technology, it became competitive. So now clients were looking for, or healthcare facilities were looking for companies that actually had technology that could support them. And so they started creating uh, loyalty or working more with those companies. Scale became more possible if you had the discipline and the tools to do it. And so we saw companies grow so rapidly, but it also became a little noisier. And so there were more staffing companies, which obviously means more opportunity, but then there's also more competition. And so more people entering an industry without understanding the core principles started impacting other staffing companies because a lot of those companies they may have had some negative impact on the market. Okay. And a lot of those companies, of course, they didn't survive, but they had tools, but they did not have the strategy. Now, we've been in that era for, I would say, the last at least decade or so. Even COVID wasn't necessarily an era. I consider COVID to be a sentinel event, something that happened that triggered the need for increased supply. I don't know that it's a standalone era, but I will say that moving into 2024, that the multiplication era has began. And that is because of the introduction of artificial intelligence. And I know that sounds scary. To some people, it does sound scary. And then to others, they're like, what's AI, Nicole? So I don't know where you fall between those conversations, but I can definitely say we've always used artificial intelligence. Now we have a greater capacity, a greater way to have those tools engage with us on a daily basis. And so there is more advantages to us understanding these tools as we move into this next era, which I'm saying is the multiplication era, but always the era, also the era for greater wealth. And so I don't think we've seen anything like what we're going to see in healthcare staffing in the history. I think artificial intelligence is not replacing anyone. I think it's helping people who move faster. And so if you can imagine, now the competition is not going to just be about a relationship or how great you are. The competition is going to be about speed and structure. And the good news is, like, those things are accessible to us. So responding to clients faster, making decisions faster, the market's moving faster. Yes, the demand is increasing, but the speed gap between firms that adapt and firms that wait, that is also widening every single month. But here's the part most people miss. that AI without human intelligence is almost like artificial sweetener. It looks sweet, but it's missing some substance. And so artificial flowers, like they look great from a distance, but there's no life in them. And so what actually works is what I believe is having artificial intelligence that supports you in building relationships, that increases or amplifies your own technology suite, that just helps to make you faster and smarter and more precise. And so that's not artificial. I think it's amplified intelligence. It's going to help companies who are already in motion, it's going to help them move faster. And wealth and speed travel together. And so this, I believe, is going to be one of the wealthiest eras in healthcare staffing. And I also believe that it's going to level the playing field for so many entrepreneurs who've been trying to get inside of this industry for a number of years, but maybe lacked or felt like they lacked some of the tools, technology, and insight. So I'm introducing, kind of sharing behind the scenes with quite a few of our clients, some of the healthcare staffing intelligence that I believe is going to be essential over the next decade and helping to multiply their current results. And so the law of multiplication says it's not about working harder. And that is what AI is allowing so many companies to do. It's about seeing where you are and then finding ways to work smarter and leverage it and multiply it. So I don't know where your business is right now, but I do believe there's an opportunity at hand for you to tap into artificial intelligence as a multiplier, whether you're adding territories, service lines, disciplines, or building on your existing relationships. While it may not be a linear path, I do believe that artificial intelligence will help you create exponential results. But I don't want you to forget that this moment matters. I've seen every era in healthcare staffing for the last 20 years. I've built through every economic climate. And I want to tell you that this is a good season. This is a good season. And I'm not a person that hops on trends, but I think this is an era where if your company can move and build, that you're going to be able to multiply what you have and really create generational wealth. It's not hype. This is a documented multi-billion-dollar industry, and that continues to climb. The workforce shortage is deepening, and the tools now are better than anything we have ever seen. And your advantage is going to be most of your competitors are still stuck in another era. They're in era 2. Some might be in 1, maybe 3, but you have the ability to multiply and step into the actual era that we're in and build a great business and a solid reputation. And so let me just close with this. I want to ask, which era are you operating in? Because I can tell you, you may be watching this video on a smartphone with the entire world at your fingertips. This is beyond your local geography, even beyond your region. But you might still be running your business like it's 2025. This era is now your greatest opportunity that I've ever seen, but it's also the most unforgiving for those who wait. And so speed and structure matter more than ever right now. And so the question isn't whether the opportunity is here. The question is, are you going to take advantage of the opportunity? Are you going to seize the opportunity? It has been an honor being here with you today. As always, if you enjoyed this content, like, share, and subscribe. Be blessed.